Hey guys, Mike here, River Run Jet Boats. Just back with another video about our Seatan 40 horsepowers and running them in for the first time. The do's and don'ts. So yeah, let's get into it. Basically, for our first couple of tanks, we're going to run a 25:1 mixture. They say about 3 or 4 tanks or 10 hours, whatever comes first. So that's quite a rich mixture. We want everything to run in nicely and you know, just get lubricated on our first fire up and as she beds in. So if you're running one of our 24-litre tanks, it's about 960 millilitres of 2-stroke marine oil that you're going to want to put in there. Now, in terms of grades, you can get better and worse. I'd say get a mid-tier 2-stroke oil. You know, your Repcos, your Super Cheaps have got all of that sorted, so they'll sort you out on that front. From there, we're going to want to turn over the motor. So first pop, get her started, have her in the water, and just let her idle 10-15 minutes. As you get all your stuff ready, just let her sit there and idle away in some deeper water. And yeah, from there, for the next 50 minutes, it's saying do not exceed half throttle. So that's where I like to go to a lake, do a bit of trolling, you know, cruise around, take your fishing rod, because it is the boring part of the process. You basically just want to get everything to bed in nicely and yeah, just putt around. From there, the next 2 hours after that, we can accelerate at full throttle onto the plane and then back it off to about two-thirds throttle. So that'll be about your cruising speed anyway. As you're up on the plane, you want to back that off and sit at about 2/3 throttle there somewhere and happily plane around. So yeah, that's the next 2 hours. Beyond that, it's saying run the engine at any speed, however avoid operating at full throttle for more than 5 minutes at a time. Look, there's not going to be many instances where you're doing that anyway. You know, at wide open throttle, you're just pretty much going to be burning fuel. Our sweet spot is at about that 2/3 to 3/4 mark anyway. So yeah, that's pretty much it on that front. I'll get in front of the motor now and I'll show you some tips and tricks. I just wanted to go over the ride height setting again as well, and just a couple of little maintenance tips. So let's crack into it. Cheers. Right, so in terms of maintenance, I mean, being a 2-strokey, they're pretty resilient. There's not a lot. Refer to your handbook as well. In the back there is a maintenance schedule after about 100 hours of things to do and go through, but pretty much it's just visual checks, checking fuel lines, little bits and bobs like that. So let's get this cowling off and take a look. So pretty much our fuel lines, just obviously always give them a visual, make sure none of them are bent, buckled, you know, twisted around with a kink in them like that, for example. Fuel filter down here, carby, spark plugs, obviously check them every now and then for fouling. There's a huge resource on the internet anyway of checking spark plugs, little bits and bobs like that, but yeah. Then in terms of maintenance, it's just the biggest thing's greasing. So your main greasing through here, your grease nipple, you just, after every ride, you know, if you've been out for a big ride, if you go out for a 15-minute squirt, I wouldn't bother doing it, you know, every single time. But if you've been out for a couple of hours that day, pop that off, you know, squirt in and use a low pressure grease gun. A high pressure grease gun is a quick way to blow your bearing seals. So if you are using a high pressure grease gun, go very, very slowly. And when you do, you want, you know, a good squirt of old grease to come out, so you know you've filled all the cavities, it's nicely pumped up with grease again, and she's nice and lubed up. So the other spots we've got grease nipple there, that's just for our turning, and then we've obviously got a couple of grease nipples there, and those are just for our as the motor kicks up and down. In terms of ride height, so let me just set this down here. So you can see here 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side we've also got those 3. So this top one, as you can see, is the one with the nut just here. So you will need 2 spanners for that particular one, and these ones just go into that block like I mentioned in the setup video. So they've just got a block, so they will just loosen off. This one here, you need to hold the inside nut. So 1, 2, 3, loosen those off, loosen the 3 off on the other side, and then we can adjust our lead screw up and down. So here's our lead screw. We've got those locking nuts at the bottom and at the top of that inner part of that lead screw, so you just want to make sure those are loosened off before you start trying to drive it up and down. Now obviously as you crank it down, that motor is going to come up, and as you crank that lead screw out, it's going to drop the motor down. So again, this is trial and error, but from our tunnel to our boot, you can see how my one's set up at the moment. It might be a bit hard because it's a wide angle lens, but pretty much you want it kind of in line, and that's a good starting point. Now you'll know very quickly once you get out on the river if you're too high. That's kind of a given, because you'll get up onto the plane and she'll start cavitating like crazy. It just sounds like you're sucking air. The motor's not really pulling. You know, you're not getting much water coming out the back of the outboard jet, and it's just making a hell of a noise, revving out. Now if you're too deep, it's a bit harder to ascertain. So what I say is start a wee bit deeper, and then slowly, little by little, you can leave these snugged off so they're snug, and then bring it up, you know, bring it up 2 mil, go again, bring it up another couple of mil, go again, and then it's at that point where you'll hear it cavitate as the nose is popping up out of the water, and you're almost up on the plane starting to level out again. She'll start to cavitate a touch. That's when you know you're about right, and you can probably drop it down another mil or 2, and that's beautiful. But if you're unsure, you're better to be a little bit deeper than too high and just constantly cavitating, because that gets annoying. Other than that, we've just got a couple of tension. So if you're wanting your throttle to stay locked like this is a tensioner, so you can lock that so that you know you're not having to hold on to that the whole time, so it does kind of stay there as you're pulling that throttle. To stop the motor as well, you don't always need to pull the safety out. You can just push on that button like such, and that'll stop the motor. Pretty much make sure your safety is on you and not just dangling there. If you fall out of the boat, she's going to keep going. Other than that, we do have idle adjustment. Obviously you can see there, that's our throttle cable there. Electric start. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this one. If you've got any questions, drop it in the comments or give us a call. Our phone number is listed on our website there. Always happy to take a call. Yeah, happy boating, and see you again soon. Cheers.